Welcome to Metals, Money, and Markets. We're Friday, April 13th. For MiningClips.com, I'm Rob Goodman, and with me, as always, Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist, will break down the information here. And a lot of information to break down this week, Mickey. Tons of political, I don't know what you'd even call it, Syrian war, tariffs, you name it. Let's get right into it here, where the dollar got beat up here, and the metals reacted pretty well.
Yeah, we've got lots of black despite all that went on. You mentioned Syria. We got Trump's attorney getting pushed around by the FBI. They broke into his apartment, his office, and his hotel room. Trade tensions, which eased a bit this week. And then we had the Zuck Schmuck in front of Congress giving canned answers for a couple of days. Despite all that, gold had a good week, up to 1345 for nearly a percent gain. Silver gained almost 2%, but it's still below $17 at 1662. Platinum had a good week, up to 930, almost 2%. The big winner, palladium, which surged on Russian sanctions. It gave up, about 10% over the previous 4 weeks. It gained most of that back this week, 9.4% gain to close at 982. The real concern here is Norilsk, which supplies about 40% of the world's platinum. One of the Russian oligarchs is something on the order of a 28% shareholder of that company. So the speculators came in and started loading up on palladium.
And meanwhile, here, copper eked out a gain this week as well.
Copper, once again, a volatile week, had a high of 314, a low of 306. It closed at 308 for a 3-cent gain. It's still 2 months in backwardation. Basically, copper goes as the trade world turns at this juncture.
And shifting our focus here to energy, where black gold had a phenomenal week.
Yeah, there's just little to stop oil right now. WTI closed at a plus 3-year high since the oil crash at 67 and a quarter, up 8.5%. This is despite U.S. rigs greater than 1,000 for the first time in something like 2.5 years, plus 7 to 1,000 rigs turning to the right in the U.S. U.S. inventories were up, but that didn't affect the market. Canadian rigs down a whopping 200 rigs drilling in the last 6 weeks. Right now, there's 102 rigs drilling in all of Canada. U.S. production was up greater than 10.5 million barrels a day. That's halfway through its projected high this year, and we're only, 3.5 months into the year. Oil has really been driven, in addition to very strong demand, geopolitical risk throughout the world.
And heading over here to these currency markets, where the dollar, again, couldn't hold that 90 level, but the loonie, the big winner here.
Yeah, the dollar's still range bound between 89.5 and 90.5. Closed less than 90 at 89.76 for a 0.5% loss. Of course, the euro was up about 0.5% to $1.23. The loonie was the big winner. It gave back 2%, about a month ago, and now it's gained all that back. It's now at 79.34 for over a percent gain again this week. Part of that has to do with oil, but the Canadian oil patch is in a world of hurt. But I think really what drove it up is Trudeau is finally threatening to step in on this pipeline battle between Alberta and BC, the Trans Mountain Pipeline. So that certainly helped the loonie this week.
And finishing up with these equities markets here, where everything was black, a little red today, but overall, good week.
Yeah, overall a good week, but it was up 2 days, it was down a day, it was up a day, and then it was down a day. The VIX started the week at 22. It ended the week at 18. So volatility actually decreased. But this has really been driven by what's going on in the DC swamp. So the markets are up, the markets are down, depending on how speculators are feeling about what's going on in the swamp, which Trump has found it impossible to drain. The Dow closed at 24,360, up 1.8%. S&P 500 up 2% to 2657. Big winner was NASDAQ, up above a 7,000 again. It closed at 7108, up almost 3% for the week.
And speaking of another winner here, the venture exchange recovered a little bit of that lost ground it's had in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it was up 4 days in a row. We haven't seen that in quite a while. Closed just below 800 at 796 for a 3.5% gain. Maybe it hit bottom last week. We would hope so. Although volumes remain low at 65 million shares, it is looking up this week.
Okay, Mickey, fingers crossed on no war in Syria, and keep our eye on the wire and catch with you next week. So I appreciate the insight, as always, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Rob.